Welcome to tonight's live stream. I am going to get started in a minute. I just need to start setting stuff up for tonight's show, a little bit with the camera and the lights, and then we'll do some promotion and we'll start the show in a minute. So just need a minute to get some stuff together, be ready to go. Just 1 second. And yeah, busy doing some stuff, so all right. What's going on, Gordon? Glad to see you here. Okay, now that I have let everybody on social media know that the stream is on the air, I'm going to get into a little perfunctory. And tonight I'm celebrating a major milestone that was 2 years in the running, and that is getting to the point of 13,000 subscribers on my channel. Now, my channel had been stuck at 12,000 for over 2 years for two reasons. Now, first reason was the fact that I had made a video speaking against the narrative regarding passports, and as a result of me speaking against the passport narrative, I had a large group of subscribers unsubscribe from the channel, and that led to the momentum of the channel slowing down, and I had to persevere to try to overcome that. Now, the second thing that I've noticed as related to the channel was that whenever I would make any sort of commentary that criticized the left, I would have people throttling down the view counts, and that impacted the sub count negatively. So anytime I would do something like a Joker Joe Biden video or any video speaking against the party of the left, I would wind up with the subs going down or the subs throttling down because YouTube would put a shadow ban on the channel. But thank God I have now broken past 13,000 subscribers, and I'm hoping that I can continue moving the momentum forward. But I can only do that with your continued support. So I want to thank everybody who has hung in there with me on the channel these, I think, 6-7 years now, and are continuing to listen to the content, because if it wasn't for you, this channel wouldn't be as big as it is. Now, another thing that happened this week that was really good was I ran into yet another one of my viewers on the train. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I ran into one viewer on the 6th train on 51st Street, and I ran into another viewer this week on the M train at 23rd Street. So I really enjoy meeting my viewers in person, and it's a real surprise to me whenever I meet a brother on the street or a sister on the street, and they recognize me. So that was something I really was happy to have and experience this week. And I'm glad that I was able to meet another one of my viewers. Now, after that perfunctory, I'm going to go into talking about the books of the 2021 catalog. Then I'll get into the topic. So, the first book I'm going to talk about is Stop Simping in Cyberspace, which is now available on Amazon.com in paperback right now, and it's also available on Kindle. And this is a book that will help many viewers out here be able to avoid online female predators, such as your e-girls and your women who are so-called Instagram models. And this book is the latest in the Simp series, and I wrote this to help a lot of guys online avoid online predators. So you can get Stop Simping in Cyberspace in paperback and Kindle right now. You can pick it up in paperback and Kindle right now. And this is a book that has helped a lot of men transform their lives. Now, there was a hater who dropped a 1-star review, but ignore the haters because these guys really, they don't know about the game in this book. This is not pseudoscience. This is reality and facts. And the whole thing is, I don't want to see guys getting played like some of my viewers who have told me about how they've gotten scammed by these online predators. And that's why I wrote this book, so that they could understand how to spot these games so they wouldn't get taken advantage of. Because I've seen so many guys tell me about how they've gone out here and spent money on these women online. And I don't want to see another guy go out here and get played like that. So Stop Simping in Cyberspace will let you know all about the game that these females play and help you win by avoiding these con artists. Now, a book that really needs everybody's support is E-Steam Cancel Vacation. Now, this is a book that I wrote to make a commentary on cancel culture. And this E-Steam series book, I really want to get some more pre-orders on the ebook version and some sales on the paperback version. And sales have been kind of slow on this book, so I really want to get the sales up on Cancel Vacation, which is going to be available on Kindle on November 19th. So I'm asking everybody to come out here and spend some money and pick up a copy of Cancel Vacation and help me get the sales up on this great E-Steam series book, which is great for kids and will show you how cancel culture impacts people all across the globe and how it affects people emotionally, negatively, and really makes a commentary on social justice warriors. So I really want to see more sales on Cancel Vacation, and I can only do that with your help. So I'm asking everybody to pick up a copy of Cancel Vacation on Amazon.com in paperback right now or in Kindle format, because this is a story I really want to see more readers come out here and pick up. So I'm asking everybody to pick up a copy of Cancel Vacation on Amazon. And with that said, now we're going to get into tonight's topic. But before I do that, thank you to Kang. I really would like to do a breakdown of DCAU, and I may do that video soon. Just hit me up on the Cash App, and I may go out here and talk about the DC. Is that the DC? Yes, the DC animated universe, and I love the DC animated universe. It was one of the best things of the 2000s, and I definitely would want to talk about that. So if you want me to make that video, head over to the Cash App and drop a donation to the Cash App. So I'm going to get into tonight's topic, and tonight's topic was inspired by a post I saw on Facebook a while back that was talking about your old Pookies. Now, your Pookie is a guy who usually comes from a single mother household. And because he comes from a single mother household, his mother goes out here and cuddles him in his bad behavior. And as your Pookie grows up, he's running the streets, running his game, and usually the females are attracted to him because they think he's so brash and bold. But what they don't see is this Pookie, while he's cute in the future because he stimulates a woman's feelings, he becomes a burden when he gets older. Now, your single mom, she will think that your Pookie is a cute little boy when he's out here using profanity or he's out here acting up. She'll sit there and create the foundation for this dysfunction early on by going out here and making excuses for this boy. And as he grows older, he then gets into his teen years. And as he's in his teen years, what happens is the women, not the women, the teenage girls, they go out here and they start getting attracted to him because your teenage girl, because she's emotional, she thinks that the antics of the Pookie are so cute. And she thinks that the Pookie is such a guy that is attracted to her based on her emotions because he's out here looking like he's being the rebel, he's looking like he's being the bad boy, and she's so caught up in the Pookie that all she's thinking about is how she makes her feel, and instead she's not thinking critically about this boy's behavior and how it's going to impact him as a man. So you'll have your women, your girls out here, teenage girls, they will get attracted to the Pookie and they'll want to be this guy's boyfriend and they'll sit there and have a relationship with this guy and they'll go along to get along with all of his behavior, like his being the so-called bad boy, being the rebel, and going along with things like his connections to criminal and illegal enterprise because they are getting stimulated emotionally by his rebellious nature. They're thinking, oh, this guy is so cool. Unfortunately, this being cool in his teen years, yeah, it's something that makes you feel good then, but it's not something you can really lay a foundation on. So when it comes down to the Pookie, the single mom and the teenage girls, they enable all of this bad behavior inside of this boy. And because there are no fathers in the community to teach this boy discipline or male life skills, he never gets a foundation on how to navigate the world. So because there's no father and no men in the community to give this boy structure and order, what happens is these Pookies go out here thinking that their out of control behavior is cute. And they think that because they are getting the emotional reactions from females, that they're in a good place. But when they get older, they wind up in not a good place because they don't have that core foundation of male life skills and male survival skills in order to navigate the world. And that's where the Pookie winds up in trouble in his later years. And it's in his later years that the Pookie winds up in the worst place of all. Because when a Pookie starts to get in his late 30s, 40s, and 50s, that's where the Pookie goes from cute to pathetic. Because, yes, your Pookie is cute in his teens and his early 20s, and your Pookie is really cute when he's out here in his teens and early 20s. participating in his antics like defying authority, getting in the face of teachers, getting in the face of bosses, and going out here and doing things like shoplifting or sneaking into movie theaters or going out here and jacking stuff in stores like shoplifting. Girls find that stuff really cute when the boy is a teenager and his mama will sit there and make excuses for his behavior. But what they don't understand is you are enabling a boy to become a male who never grows into manhood. And because this boy is stuck in a state of mental arrested development, he never grows into manhood and never grows to become the man who would be able to survive in the world. No, because this boy has been enabled by the women in his community at an early age, he does not have those survival skills and those life skills that allow him to lay that foundation to be able to go out into the world and be able to do things like get a job or go out here and start a business or go out here and do things like even take care of a family. No, because the women sit there and enable him and make excuses for him. He never grows up, and all he does, sadly, is grow old. So your Pookie, what he does as he's growing older, he does not grow into manhood, and he does not know how to navigate a course in life as a man. So this guy, what he does is the women go along with him for a long time. They make excuses for him, and this guy, he just stumbles through life. And instead of him looking to go out on his own, what he does is he stays in his mama's house. And as he's staying in his mama's house, he's never growing to become the man he should be. Because every time this Pookie goes out here and fails, mama makes an excuse for him. When he goes out here and gets a job and quits in a day, mama says the boss was wrong. And whenever he goes out here and doesn't go to work, people just go out here and make excuses for the Pookie. And what they don't, what they when they go out here and make excuses is so that they can maintain a codependent relationship with this boy because they want to have power over that boy. Because many of these women, like the single mom and the girlfriend, they fear him growing into manhood. And many of these women fear him growing into a man because the single mom, she does not want the boy to grow into the man that his father was. So she tries to restrain his development because she does not want to deal with a man who is like his father because of the negative experience she has had with the father. She thinks that if she goes out here and arrests the development of the boy, she will be helping the boy. But ironically, what she's doing is hurting the boy because when the boy has his development arrested and he does not grow into a mental state of manhood, what happens to that boy is he does not know how to take care of himself. And this is the mistake many single mothers make because they sit there and they think, oh, I will go out here and do everything for the boy. But this boy has to go out into the world at some time, and he has to go out here and learn how to navigate life as a man. And when you restrict his growth, what you're doing is you are making it where this boy is not going to be able to take care of himself when he gets older. And usually that's when these boys wind up in trouble in their late 20s or their 30s, or especially in their 40s and their 50s, because at that point, mama has in some cases passed away. And when mama passes away, there's nobody there to take care of the Pookie. And even worse, their Pookie can't take care of himself. And that's when the Pookie starts to drift in life because there is nobody there to be there to have that emotional hose on him. And because there's nobody to have an emotional hose on him, he's adrift with no direction. He's adrift without focus. And he has no understanding of how to go out here and do things for himself because he's always used to mama going out here and doing things for him. And when mama does things for him, he never learns how to do things for himself. And that's why a father is important in a boy's life because a father is going to go out here and insist that his son learn life skills because a father knows that a boy needs to know certain things in order to survive in the world. A father himself had to go out here and learn these things in his late teen years, in his 20s, and even his 30s. He had to go out here and learn how to build, and because he learned how to build, he can then sit down and teach his son what he needs to build in order to go out here and do things like your Pookies can't do, like go out here and keep a job, go out here and build a savings, go out here and be able to have a work ethic, and go out here and be able to have your own place. These are things that fathers help prepare their sons to do because a father understands that as a steward, part of his role as a steward is ensuring that his son have the skills to be able to go out here and do for self and be able to, if he wants to, go out here and continue to maintain his legacy. So a father prepares his son for life out here in the world, but a mother, she will go out here and coddle the boy, and she will go out here and make excuses for him whenever things go wrong. So when a boy winds up failing in life, whenever things don't go his way, the mother will sit there and say, "Oh, it was that job that was bad. It was those teachers who were bad." And instead of saying, "Son, you've got to go out here and persevere in the face of adversity, and you've got to go out here and push past these obstacles because nobody in this world is going to give you anything. And in this world, life is not going to be fair. If people have advantages, they are going to use those advantages and they're going to use them to benefit themselves. So you have to go out here and learn how to go out here and make things work in this world because the world works differently for a man than it does for a woman. And you have to learn how to make that world work so that you can go out here and get benefits that allow you to be able to take care of yourself. And this is something I talk about in depth in my book, The Man Crisis, because so many men are in crisis right now. And the old Pookie is the ultimate end of a man in crisis. So when you're dealing with an old Pookie, he is the ultimate end of a man in crisis. And when you have a cold culture of old Pookies in your society is going to be in a lot of trouble because old Pookies, they are, again, the ultimate end of a man who is in crisis. And this man he's in a place where he never learned how to do anything. And as he's grown older, he's just never grown up. And the old Pookie he's just in the saddest state of affairs. So I'm gonna leave a link to the Man Crisis so you can get your own copy. And then I'm gonna talk about some of the super chats. The Kang says the DC animated universe. Yeah, I'm going to do that video next week. I'm going to talk all about it because I have all of the DVDs, except for the Static Shock ones, but I have them all. And I'm going to go in depth talking about how great it was because it was a fantastic era and it ended on a high note. Julian Kenny sends a super chat of $4.99. He says he's enjoying the show, and I'm glad you're enjoying the show. I would have to do some research on Alpo Martinez if I did a show on him, but I might just do a video on him if I do the research. So, yeah, I'm glad to see you here, Computer Robots, Fox Strites, and Joy Brooks, Non-Swirl Zone, regular viewers. Just really glad to see you here. And I'm going to get back into the topic talking about this old Pookie, because this man in crisis is something that can be prevented if he has an intervention from men. But the reason why we have, again, old Pookies is because he's been enabled and coddled by women. And because your Pookies have been enabled, they just go out here and just they never grow up to become men. They just stay over, what I call overgrown teenagers. And these overgrown teenagers, they wind up in their mother's house for years on end, sitting there. They're not working. They're just sitting there playing video games. They're sitting there watching all sorts of adult entertainment in their mother's home. And your old Pookie, it's again, the women think that this guy is so cute until they have to wind up taking responsibility for that guy. And that's when they start to have issues with him. Now, some mothers start to have issues with the old Pookie when they start to look at the successes of other brothers out here. So your old Pookie, yeah, he's cute to the mother when she's in her presence, but when she has to step outside and has to hear about, oh, so-and-so's son's graduated from college, so-and-so's son is now working at a company, so-and-so's son is out here achieving goals, this is where the mama starts to feel embarrassed about herself, because she looks at her son and she says, oh, look at what I've raised, and I'm not seeing any sort of success. And a lot of these mothers, they get embarrassed in social situations with their sons when those sons don't go out here and are achieving and accomplishing things, because in social circles, it really is a bad reflection on them when their grown sons are sitting there in their house and are not showing any sort of success. So that's something that is a turning point for some mothers out here as related to the older Pookies. She gets embarrassed when she starts to hear that from the mothers of her social group, oh, that my son is going out here, he's getting married. My son is going out here, he's on the job. My son is out here, he's just bought a house. My son is out here and he's out here taking care of business. This is the kind of stuff that embarrasses the single mom, because when she looks at her son in comparison, she realizes that she has completely failed. But when she fails, she does not get angry at herself. She gets angry at the Pookie, and then she wants to go out here and yell at the Pookie. So that's what I'll do that video soon. Shaq Elliott on Brittany Renner. I have to read up on that. And C-Man, thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate it. Glad to see you here. But the old Pookie, again, the mama, she gets embarrassed, and that's when the mama wants to go out here and get into arguments. That's when the mama wants the boy to go out here and do something, but the boy does not know how to do anything because the father wasn't there to teach him anything. And even in worse, there was no support system of men in the community to teach him those male life skills. There was no father to teach him the foundation, and there were no business owners to go out here and help this boy get his first job or develop that work ethic, because in many cases, the women drove those men out of the community. And as those women drove those men out of the community, they drove the boys' support system away. And this is one of the mistakes that a lot of those single mothers wind up making, because they think that any man can go out here and help their community. But those men who create businesses outside of their community, what they do is they're out to take care of their own, and they are going to do things that benefit their own. So a lot of these single mothers, what they do is they will sit there and patronize these foreign owned stores like the Arab groceries, the Korean hair and nail salons, the Indian franchises, and these businesses, they'll sit there and they'll take their money that they get from the job, but they're not going to hire their sons to get their first job stocking shelves or sweeping or and mopping or going out here and doing things like being a cashier. These are the jobs where a boy learns the basics about work ethics, like being on time, being professional, and doing a good quality job and developing a work ethic. But because there are no men in the community invested in these boys, what happens is these boys never really learn what they need to go out here and learn how to build the way a man does, because those outsiders aren't interested in investing in those boys at an early age so that they can grow up to become capable and confident men. So that is the reason why you wind up with an old Pookie on your couch, and that is why your old Pookie grows up to become an older man who has no sense of self, because he's looking to be socially accepted, because that's what his mother wants. His mother wants him to be cool, but what's really cool about a 40 or a 50-year-old man who is continuing to do what he did when he was a teenager, standing outside of the Arab store and chatting with his friends? I mean, you sitting and joking outside of the Arab store at 15 or 16 is cute, but when you see 45 and 50-year-old men standing outside of an Arab store while the Arab man's son is in there making money, that becomes a sad, pathetic picture, because it shows that over the course of 20 to 30 years, this boy never learned any sort of life skills that would allow him to go out here and do what that Arab man is doing, going out here, opening up a business in your community. And then as he opens up that business in your community, he's out here teaching his son how a work ethic. He's giving his son his first shot at a job. He's giving his son an opportunity to learn basic business skills. And his son is growing and developing into becoming a man. Meanwhile, your Pookie is sitting here still stuck in the state of arrested development and still on the platform of a child, still acting like a child. And it is something that is, again, extremely sad to watch, because as you're watching these grown men go out here after they either drop out of school or in some cases finish school, they have no direction whatsoever. So what they do is some of them are getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning, and they're going to go stand in front of the Arab man's store. And that is something that when you really think about that's something that's really, really sad. When you see a 40-plus-year-old man, the first thing he does is get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to go stand outside of another man's business. And that man in that business, when he gets up at 6 o'clock in the morning, what he's doing is he's preparing to go in here and make money. Meanwhile, old Pookie is sitting there looking to just waste time. And that's just the benign version of the old Pookie. There are other versions of the old Pookie that are even sadder than this. Now, another version of the old Pookie is the guy who goes from his mother's home to his girlfriend's couch. And that's another version of the old Pookie that is really sad because this man, he's still trying to have relationships like with girls like he did in high school. And now your old Pookie, this is another old Pookie. What he does is he's still playing these junior high school games. And you, as a woman, you are going out here, you're finishing college, you're getting your first job, and this guy is still talking about Madden 2022. And that really just shows you that this man's mind is not in the place that it needs to be, because an adult man, while he may enjoy video games like or action figures like I do, he understands his priorities need to be focused on building and generating wealth. So you might have a guy who has hobbies like this, but he has other focuses on other goals. But an old Pookie, he does not have the framework and the mindset of a man to think about building or the focus on accomplishing constructive goals because he's stuck in a state of arrested development. You'll have your old Pookie, he's sitting there and he's talking about buying the new Jordans. He's talking about buying video games, and he's talking about going out here and chasing women. But he's never talking about, I want to go here and work, get a job. And he's not talking about going out here and setting a course for where he wants to go in life. Instead, he's still stuck wanting to stay in the place of a child, but a boy has to understand that he has to come out of the place of a child and he has to start focusing on becoming a man. And your old Pookie, what's sad about him is that you'll still have a guy in his 40s and his 50s. He's still talking about getting the new kicks from the VIM or the Dr. J's or the Foot Locker. And that's not the way a man talks. No, when a man sit here and talk, he's talking about how he wants to go out here and he wants to go out here and invest for his retirement. And he's also talking about where he wants to go as related to where he wants to be later on in life. And that's what a man does in his early 20s and his 30s. He's sitting up there trying to lay that foundation for where he wants to go in life. He's setting goals for where he wants to be, and he's trying to set a direction for where he wants to be later in life because he knows as he gets older, he's not going to have these opportunities. So he understands about the concept of time, and that's something the old Pookie don't understand because his single mother has told him the feminist lie that you have all the time in the world. That is one of the greatest lies that the single mothers and the girlfriends have learned from the white feminists, that a person has all the time in the world, but when you have your youth, you don't have it for long, and you need to take that opportunity to do the things you hoped to accomplish in life. But your old Pookie, he doesn't do that. He hasn't done this in his youth. And what's sad is he winds up wasting the best years of his life, either sitting on his mother's sofa, standing outside the Arab store, chatting with his friends, talking about the Madden game or what happened on the NBA or whatever show that was on the air, or he's just out here at his girlfriend's house watching Maury. And this guy winds up wasting the best years of his life, and he doesn't really think about the time that has passed, and that is one of the saddest things of all. Now, some of these old Pookies, they wind up getting into criminal enterprise, and that's how they lose time, because a lot of these guys, when they're 14, 15, and 16, some of them get into the dope game, and what happens is they never have a plan for what happens when you get caught. And because these guys are so caught up in their feelings about the attention they're getting in the neighborhood from their mothers and their baby mamas and the females in the community. They're so caught up in being the cool guy with all of the social status. And what happens to that Pookie is he doesn't think about the end game of this whole dope game. So you'll have a lot of these guys who are into being dope boys and thugs, and they're not understanding that in that whole lifestyle that you need to really think about the end game, because that end game usually is either prison or it's usually you winding up dead. And these guys never really think about which one is the worst of them. And I'd have to say that the death is better for the Pookie when he's young, because the older Pookie, his life becomes a lot harder once he has a record. Because once you get a record, what happens is your life becomes that much harder. You become somebody who is practically unable to go out here and go to college because you get cut off from certain grants and you can't get certain government jobs. So this guy winds up getting cut off at the knees. Meanwhile, single mom and the girlfriends and the baby mamas, they're going on having their lives while this guy is sitting in a penitentiary for his best years, or he's in and out of jail for his best years. And he's missing out on the opportunities that he could have in life. And because he's sitting there thinking that it's so cute that he's getting locked up and he's getting these care packages from mama and girlfriends and baby mamas, he's thinking, oh, everything is going good, but things aren't going as good as he thinks they're going to go, because what happens to your old Pookie is those women eventually are going to wind up leaving your life. Mama is going to get too old to send you any more care packages because she's going to either wind up retiring, or she's going to be on SSI, or she's going to wind up Social Security, or she's going to wind up passing away. So there's that support system. It's going to erode. And girlfriends, they're out here while this guy is locked up. They're some of his own homies are putting moves on those women. And eventually your Pookie, as he's sitting there doing 5, 10, 15 years in the penitentiary, that he's winding up getting a Dear Pookie letter in the first 6 months of his time in there. And he's on his own inside of that penitentiary from that point. So he's no longer getting the boxes of sneakers and the boxes of Fruit of the Looms and socks and care packages and little sundry items. He's no longer getting that stuff anymore because mama stopped sending him stuff, girlfriend stopped sending him stuff, baby mama stopped sending him stuff. And this old Pookie, what happens to him is he's sitting in there and he's just working for 10 cents an hour inside of the penitentiary, and he's barely able to afford even the basic commissary, because that's why you get guys who are out here getting turned out by Bubba and Tiny for ramen noodles, Little Debbie snack cakes, and Fritos chips. That's how you get guys getting turned out for stuff like this, because the old Pookie, in a lot of cases, that when he's younger, what happens is he winds up in a place where nobody's putting money on his books, and he winds up on his own. And it's inside of that penitentiary for the first time. He has to learn how to be a man. Unfortunately, he doesn't know how to be a man. So he winds up in that effeminate role, and he winds up getting turned out by these other inmates. And again, this guy has been like this for 15 years or 10 years or 5 years, and he comes back out into the world, and he's expected to be a man, and he still doesn't know how to function as a man. And that is one of the worst things that could happen to an old Pookie. And that's why I say death for a young Pookie is better than life for an older Pookie, because the older Pookie, he's coming out and he's after that horrible penitentiary experience. he's going into a real world and going to have to deal with real pain. And he still does not know how to survive. And what's sad about him is that after coming out of the penitentiary, he's got to go in, come out, and start over. And that is one of the saddest parts of the old Pookie is you've got a guy who at 35, 40, he's got to go out here and try to start his life over. And he's the guy who has to go out here and work the minimum wage job because it's the only thing he can find. And he's trying to start his life completely over and trying to get things in order, but he doesn't know how to get things in order because there was no man to sit there and teach him how to get stuff in order. And there's still no man there to help him learn how to get things in order. So you have a 40, 50-year-old man still with the mind of a teenager, and he's sitting there at 40 and 50 years old, still dressing like a teenager. And it's really sad to watch when you see a 40 or a 50-year-old man still wearing sagging pants. You still see a 40 or a 50-year-old man wearing Air Jordan shoes. And you see here a 40 or a 50-year-old man still talking about going to the club, or a 40 or a 50-year-old man sitting here still talking about video games. I mean, it is something when you sit there and really think about it, you start to go, is this guy, something is wrong with him? But what's wrong was his mother and the women in the community never let other men come into his life so that he could learn what he needed to do in order to go out here and function as a man. And many of those single moms and those girlfriends, they think it's cute when they are out here and they're directing the Pookie, and they're thinking it's cute when they have power over this man. But what happens is that it stops being cute when this man just cannot function on their own. I mean, a lot of these women, they'll sit there and they'll think it's cute when he's young, but these same women will sit there when he gets older and they'll feel sorry for that man. But that's a really bad thing because you don't have to feel sorry for him, because if you really respected that young brother, you would have let another man come in here and teach him what he needs to know in order how to navigate the world. And that's one of the sad parts about your old Pookie is those women don't want this boy to grow up to become a man. And then when he becomes an old man, he cannot go out here and impart wisdom on these young brothers that they need, because he doesn't have any wisdom at all. And because this old man is still got the mindset of a child, he really cannot impart wisdom on the young brothers. He cannot share any wealth of information. So he's absolutely useless as a person, and he's just there like dead weight. Because in what happens in a lot of cases, as the old Pookie gets older, he just winds up with nobody there to help him be able to learn what he needs. And because there's nobody there to help him learn what he needs, he just is dead weight. Now, a lot of women out here, what happens with them as they're dealing with the Pookie, they think it's cute when he's the boyfriend for a while, and they'll have him living in their house like that as a boyfriend and a girlfriend. And some of what happens is that eventually these women get tired of the Pookie because this man never matures into manhood, and that's something that is beyond his control. Now, a lot of these women, what they will do is when they're boyfriend and girlfriend, they'll create a covert contract with the Pookie saying that I'll let you stay with me when for a while, and hopes that he grows into manhood. But the guy never grows into manhood, and he basically becomes like a child to her. And that's where the girlfriend starts to become frustrated with the Pookie, because she's looking for a boy to grow up to become the kind of man who will become a head and a leader, but you're not going to get that from a male who never learned these things. So what they're hoping to do is by investing in the Pookie, by taking care of him and having them live with him, he will grow into manhood. He will go out here and get a job. He will go out here and start a business. He will go out here and become somebody who that she will respect, but she will never respect him because she is in a position, one, above him as the leader, and two, she is not submitting to him as a helpmeet and a support. So she's completely out of order as related to her relationship in God's natural order. And what she wants this guy to do when she's going out here buying clothes for him and going out here and helping him buy video games, she wants him to become this ideal man. But this guy cannot grow into manhood because he's in a position under you. And because he's in a position under you, he's in the same codependent place he was with his mom. And because he's used to female authority figures, he's in a place where he wants to submit to you. And that's why he can never grow to become this man that the woman wants him to be. And that's one of the problems that your women have with your Pookies over time. And that's why your women get frustrated with your Pookie as they get older. Now, some of your working class females who have careers and jobs, they start to get frustrated with this Pookie as they are 3, 4, 5 years into the relationship because they are waiting for this boy to grow into manhood. Unfortunately, this boy never grows into manhood, and what he is he just becomes an older version of his teenage self. And as these women start to advance in their careers and they start to learn how to navigate the social circles of the business world, they're looking to bring their man into those social circles, but they can't bring this Pookie into those social circles because he's an embarrassment. Because your Pookie does not have those male life skills from a father to teach him how to dress in a business situation. He never had a father to teach him how to wear a proper business suit. He never had a father to teach him how to tie a tie. He never had a father to teach him how to put on some nice leather-soled dress shoes like Allen Edmonds or Florsheim or Charles Turwit or Brooks Brothers. He never had a father to teach him how to be able to carry and conduct himself in social circles in the business world or even basic social circles. This guy, he's still talking about sagging pants and wearing Air Force Ones and or Timberland spice stands. And this guy is not somebody a woman can go out here and say, I want to take this guy to go meet my boss. I want to take him to go meet my coworkers, or I even want to take him to go meet extended parts of my family because this male never learned how to be a man. And because he never learned how to be a man, he becomes an embarrassment to that woman. And because she winds up in a place where she cannot bring this man further into her life, this is where many of your women wind up becoming extremely frustrated with your older Pookies because she's looking for this man to have those basic social skills and the basic ability to just go out here and know how to dress for a social situation. And she can't bring him into other parts of her life. And because this guy, he's still acting and behaving and dressing like a child. And when she has to bring this guy out into those social circles, it would be an embarrassment for her because it shows that while she's talking about she's the independent professional woman, she clearly has poor taste in men because this male, he's not ready to be a man. And to bring this man into other social circles with other men, they are going to look at her and laugh at her because they're not seeing a woman who is as confident and capable as she says she is, because she doesn't have a man, she has a child. And this child is somebody who just is, again, he's stuck in a state of arrested development. And some people would even say, in some cases, he's mentally retarded, because you have a grown man who is still sitting there dressing like a teenager. You have a grown man still sitting here in his sagging pants and in a jean suit and Air Force Ones. And he's thinking, this is how you dress for a Christmas party. This is how you dress for a company event that families go to. And this is how you're supposed to present yourself. And this guy, he has no sense of leadership, no sense of direction. And it's embarrassing to listen to this guy. He's sitting here and you're trying to have a conversation with him, and all he's talking about are Air Force Ones, Jordans, talking about Madden football, or talking about going out here and trying to get with the honeys. I mean, this guy is still talking like a 15, 16, 17-year-old boy. And it's embarrassing to have this guy around because you can't really take him anywhere. And that's something that frustrates many of these women out here who have a Pookie in their life. Yes, they get stimulated emotionally by this guy, but socially, he starts to become a major liability because they cannot really have somebody who is on a social level of like they are, and it makes it where it's hard for them to advance socially in other circles, because again, it's very embarrassing when you have a grown man who cannot have an adult conversation and cannot articulate intelligently talking points as related to a discussion, because everything that he talks about is based on emotion, and he does not know how to have and engage in an intelligent discussion. So that's something that frustrates a lot of your American women out here as related to these Pookies. They get really frustrated because they want this man to be the kind of man they can go out here and take to a party or take to an event and can have something to discuss and can go out here and sit here and talk about something in an intelligent fashion. They want to have a guy out here who can sit there and when he talks, he's sitting there, he's talking about goals that he wants to accomplish in life. He's talking about things that he wants to do as related to business and enterprise. And he's sitting here, and this guy, again, you can't bring him anywhere because all he's talking about is childish stuff. So that's something that many women, that's what makes them frustrated, and that's what makes their relationships deteriorate. Now, the other thing that makes a lot of these old Pookie's relationships deteriorate is the fact that these men can't be fathers. Now, some of these women out here, what they will do is they will have a child with a Pookie, and they're hoping that this will help this man grow up and become a man. Because the covert contract they create with the Pookie is that if I have his baby, eventually this will make him grow up and become a responsible man. But this doesn't help this Pookie become a responsible man, because what enables a man to become a responsible man is that father instilling that discipline in him, that father instilling that resolve in him, and that father insisting that he persevere. Those are the things that instill a foundation of manhood in a man. And it's that character that he learns as he perseveres that enable him to go out here and learn the basic foundations of manhood. So what happens to the Pookie who becomes the baby daddy is he will go out here and he's not going to be a good father because he doesn't know how to be a man. And because he doesn't know how to be a man, he doesn't know how to take responsibility. And because he has no sense of responsibility due to all the enablers in his life, what happens is this guy, he doesn't take care of his children, and he's basically a child himself. So instead of her having one child with the man, the baby mama actually has two children, One of them being the Pookie. And the Pookie, what he does as he's out here being the baby daddy is he's still trying to go out here, call himself being a player. He's still out here going out here running the streets, and he's not putting priorities in place. Like once you've had this child, thinking about the best interest of your woman and your child, and going out here looking to work to build a home for them. He's not focused on these goals because all he's thinking about is getting the draws. All he's thinking about is getting behind the skid mark thong and getting access to more panties. He's not thinking about, I need to go out here and lay a foundation for my family's home. And I need to go out here and establish a household because at this point, you are bonded to this woman, and this woman is supposed to be your helpmeet and support towards helping you build. But because this man is looking for women to lead him, what's happening to this man is he's expecting the women to go out here and take care of themselves instead of him looking to take care of them. I mean, instead of looking to take care of them, because a man is supposed to be out here taking care of his own business, and he's supposed to be the leader, and he's supposed to be the one saying, look, if I get with this woman, I need to start laying a foundation for where I want to go with this woman, and I need to find out if this woman has the character and qualities of a wife. But a Pookie, because he's caught up in his feelings about women, all he's thinking about is getting the draws, getting inside of the skid mark thong. And after he gets inside of the skid mark thong, he's not thinking about what could happen in the aftermath, this woman getting pregnant, and he's not thinking about what would happen when it's time to lay the foundation for a family. So he's not thinking about providing for this family. He's not thinking about providing for a home. No, he's expecting the women to do this because he's grown up in the welfare state, or he's grown up with a working single mother, and he's expecting the woman to take care of things that he isn't taking care of. And that's why many of your Pookies abdicate responsibility. And what happens to your Pookie as related to his children is they wind up getting neglected. They wind up not getting their emotional needs met. They wind up not being cared for. And if these kids manage to get somewhere in life, then you will start to see the old Pookie show up in some outdated suit coat and some old slacks at the graduation, talking about what he did for his kids. And it's embarrassing to watch the old Pookie then come into the child's life after they have worked hard to get themselves somewhere. And he's at the graduation acting like he did something, but he did absolutely nothing at all. And the Pookie, he'll be in and out of the kids' lives, but he'll never give them any sort of structure. He'll never give them any sort of order, and he'll never give them any sort of guidance. And that is one of the sadder parts of the old Pookie when they have children, because they don't give their kids any sort of guidance or structure or life skills. Sadly, those kids wind up just as lost as he is, and they continue to perpetuate the whole cycle of things in life. Now, Non-Swirl Zone dropped a very good comment. Thank you, Michael Gray, for the super chat. I really appreciate it. He says, Pookies will have to learn how to manage stress, deal with setbacks, and problem solve, as these will be the key to survival in the real world. And yes, you have to learn how to deal with these things. And these are things that the old Pookie never learns. And because he never learns them, he winds up in a real jam, especially when he gets older. I mean, these guys, when they get in their late 30s, 40s, and 50s, they don't know how to deal with stress. They don't know how to deal with setbacks. And worst of all, they cannot solve problems because they don't know how to make the world work the way a man does. So I look at your old Pookie, and again, it's a very bad place for a guy to be in, but he's in that place because people of his parents didn't prepare him for life in the real world. So he's sitting there, and when he gets older, he winds up in a really bad jam because when you're 45, 50, and 60 years old and you're just trying to get started, it's a lot harder than anything out here. I mean, when you have to start out on minimum wage jobs or you have to start out trying to get things together, I mean, this is a really bad place for a guy to be because you're near the age of retirement and you're in a place where other people, they're sitting there planning to put their papers in, and here you are at the starting line, and you don't have that much time because as related to life, you don't have that much time, and you're trying to get started. And that's one of the saddest parts about the old Pookie is that he's at that point of trying to get started when everybody's finishing, and he's in a place where he's got no support system, he's got no help, and he's somebody that a lot of people, they just look at him and shake their heads. But had those people come out here and helped him out when he was younger, he wouldn't be in that place. That's something that many people aren't thinking about, but I think about as related to the old Pookie, because a lot of these guys, they're in a place where they are getting older, they're getting weaker, and they're getting slower. And you have these guys, they're sitting there, they don't have any sort of retirement plan. They don't have any Social Security saved up. They don't have any savings. And if they're coming out of the penitentiary, they don't have any money whatsoever, and they have a felony on their records. So this old Pookie, yes, he was cute when he was young, and he was fly when he was young. But when he gets old, he becomes extremely pathetic. And when you're dealing with an old Pookie, it's really sad because this man has become set in his ways. And as he has become set in his ways, he ends up learning values and value systems that wind up impeding his growth and make it where he never grows to become a man. So what you're stuck with is a 50, 60-year-old man who is still stuck with the mindset of a child. And that's something that is really troubling to watch because you're sitting there with this 50, 60-year-old man, and he's still going out here putting the stereo up super loud, listening to old 80s or 90s jams, and talking about how stuff was done in the old days. Meanwhile, people who have gone out here and done stuff over the last 30 years, they're out here thinking about going to buy their home or moving on to their second home or thinking about taking their kids to college. And this guy, he's still out here doing everything in life the way he did in high school. And he's stuck in a place where he's just like stuck in a time warp. I mean, some of these old Pookies, again, they're still standing outside the Arab corner store. They're still talking about Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen from 30 years ago. I mean, those guys are now practically senior citizens at this point, and they're still sitting there talking about heading over to the VIM or the Dr. J's or the Foot Locker to get the new Air Force Ones, and they're still out here sagging pants. And it's really sad to see an old Pookie because an old Pookie, in many cases, has nothing in his life. I mean, he doesn't have anything for his retirement saved up. He doesn't have any sort of money. And in many cases, these guys, even if they were to have flipped burgers for 30 years, they would have at least gotten the burgers free at the end of the night if they worked the night shift. I mean, these guys, well, some of them, especially the Pookies who have gone out here and committed crimes, a lot of these guys, especially if they got in the dope game, they have nothing to show for it. And that was one of the things that inspired the stream was the guy said he's talking about how a lot of these old dope boys are still in the game. And again, if you're an old dope boy, it's really sad because you, in all those years, 30, 40 years, you haven't established any sort of wealth. But that's because these guys don't understand that life in as related to the dope game, there is no retirement plan. And when it comes down to Pookie, he doesn't think of a retirement plan because he has a female mindset. And because he has a female mindset, what he does is he's thinking about the now and he never thinks about the later. But when you have a man out here, he knows that his life in this world is finite. He knows one day he is going to finish God's work on earth and he's going to pass. And he wants to go out here and understand that he knows he's going to get older. So he makes plans for his future when he gets older so that when he has to pass, he winds up either leaving a legacy for his children and he winds up going on to finish whatever God wanted him to do on earth. But the old Pookie, what's sad about him is that in his older age, he has no plans for any sort of future. And because he has no plans for any sort of future, what happens is he gets so caught up in the now, he doesn't have a plan for later. And what happens to the old Pookie is he has no social security. He has no place to even lay out a plan for where he wants to live. And what happens is that as his older relatives who cared for him, especially the female ones, wind up passing away, he winds up in a place where he winds up in some real danger. And this is why some Pookies wind up becoming homeless because they did not learn the life skills to go out here and get and keep a job so that they could be able to pay their bills. And because the old Pookie never learned the life skills to get and keep a job, they have no way of supporting themselves. And this is what happens to a lot of your older Pookies who live with mama. They wind up on the street because they have nobody there to care for them. And this is how some of your old Pookies wind up going from mama's house to the street. And then if they pass away, they wind up going to the potter's field. And again, that's a sad, tragic end for an old Pookie in some cases, that you go from mama's house to the streets to the potter's field, and people and after you pass, nobody even knows you were there. Now, he was the cool dude on the street back when he was a teenager, but he becomes forgotten and practically irrelevant once he passes away. And that is the sad, tragic fate of the old Pookie. He goes from somebody that everybody knew as the street dude, everybody knew as the cool dude, everybody the girls were after, and then he becomes practically forgotten after he winds up becoming homeless and on the street. And again, that's the troubling end for your old Pookie. And this is what happens to them because nobody's there to teach this boy what he needs to be a man. And that's what happens to a lot of these guys because they are, mama goes out here and coddles them. And the same thing happens to the guy who has the girlfriends. A lot of these Pookies, once they get older or they wind up getting into situations with their girlfriends where the woman starts to get frustrated with them, they start wanting to put this man out. And because this man does not have his own money and does not have a savings and does not have a job of his own, he has no way to go out here and get his own spot. He has no way to go out here and take care of himself. So once that female puts him out of her house, that's where your old Pookie winds up on the street. And that's how you wind up with the dude standing outside the Arab-owned store. And he's sitting there talking about, can I get $1? Because this man never learned how to go in a place and say, look, I need a job and I need to find a way to make a living. He doesn't know how to do this because no man has sat down and told him, you need to learn what you need to get out here and make that paper. There's no man out here to teach him what he needs to be able to keep that job, because you have to have a lot of discipline to keep these jobs. You have to have the ability to get there on time, one. And two, you have to learn how to put up with a lot of crap on these jobs from these bosses. And you have to learn how to suck it up so that you can continue making paper for yourself, because the only person who can help go out here and make a living is you. So you have to go out here and you have to learn how to do things. But the old Pookie, because he doesn't know how to do these things, he's dependent on his girlfriend. He's dependent on his baby mama, and he's sitting up there in a house filled with women. And when those women get tired of him, they put him out on the street. And when he's out on the street, because he doesn't know how to go out here and work, or he doesn't know how to hustle, what happens to him is he's out here being the dude talking about, boss, can I get $1? And that's not the way a man operates. When you have a man, he doesn't go out here and need to sacrifice his dignity begging for $1. No, a man, he has to learn how to go out here and make a living, because the only person who's going to take care of him. So this is something that your old Pookie never learns. And because your old Pookie never learns how to work, this is why he's out here begging for change. And this is how your old Pookie becomes dusty, because that's what happens to the dusty dude. The dusty dude is basically the old Pookie, who, again, everybody thought it was so cute when he was out here acting up in class. Everybody thought it was cute when he was out here in the streets. Everybody thought it was cute when he was out here shoplifting. Everybody thought it was cute when he was out here being the thug. Everybody thought he was cute when he was out here with the sagging pants. Everybody thought he was cute back then. But once this man starts to become older, they start to have problems, because this boy never learns how to become a man. And because this boy never learns how to become a man, he then does not know how to navigate the world of men. And because he doesn't know how to navigate the world of men, that's when those same people like his mama and his girlfriend start to get frustrated with him. But they have no reason to be angry with him, because they created this Pookie. And this Pookie, what's really sad about him is that as he gets older, people start to get tired of his antics. But the whole thing is, you don't enable those antics early on, because any father understands that what you think is cute for a little boy to do is not going to help him grow up to become a capable and responsible man. No, a father, when he's out here, understands that my son cannot be out here thinking that acting up in class is cute, arguing with people is cute, because he's got to go out into that world. He's got to deal with male authority figures. He's got to deal with bosses. He's got to deal with different people. And because he has to deal with different people, he has to learn discipline, self-control, and he has to learn how to navigate through his emotions so he does not act impulsively and do things that wind up being to his detriment. That's what a father teaches a son, because he does not want his son to become an old Pookie, because an old Pookie, he's a man that nobody respects. He's a man that everybody pities. And when they look at the old Pookie, they don't see anybody they want anything to deal with. Most people shake their heads at the old Pookie, but the women in the community who created the old Pookie, they shouldn't shake their heads as related to feeling sorry for that boy. No, they should be shaking their heads in shame, because they enabled and created all of the dysfunction that led to this boy winding up in this place. Because had they not held this boy accountable and demanded better of this boy would not be in this place as a sad, pathetic older man. Now, I'm going to get ready to wrap up tonight's stream, and I want to thank everybody for coming to tonight's stream. And I want to thank everybody for coming out to tonight's stream. And if you want to learn more about why you have old Pookies in your community, you can pick up my book, The Man Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. And this book has helped many Pookies get their lives in order. This book has helped many Pookies turn their lives around. I've even actually heard from some Pookies who told me about how this book opened up their eyes and helped them see the world differently. And this book has really, again, transformed so many men's lives. And I want more men to go pick this book up. So you can pick up a copy of The Man Crisis on Amazon.com, paperback and Kindle format. And this book will open your eyes, and I'm hoping to get it to men so that they don't become the old Pookie, because being an old Pookie is not something that is pretty to be. And you probably have seen many old Pookies in your neighborhood, and those men, they're at a point. Some of them are at a point of no return, and others are at a point where they can probably turn it around. I mean, there is always a chance of getting that big break and moving your life forward. And the whole thing is that this the whole thing is that your old Pookie is not something any woman wants her son to be. But I'm hoping that this stream helps women and men understand that an old Pookie is not something you want as your son or as your boyfriend, as your father, because this is not a place you want to be in. I mean, an old Pookie is again, he's a boy's mind in a man's body, and that's not a place any man wants to be in. So I want to help a lot of these guys understand what they need to learn so that they don't become the old Pookie standing outside the Arab-owned store asking for $1, or being the old guy who is practically getting up at 6 a.m. to go stand outside of that Arab store while they make money. I mean, you should be thinking about making your own money and not begging for somebody else's. And that's what men go out here and do. And that's what I want to see more young brothers and young men out here do. Learn what they need so that they can go out here and survive in the world. Because if we don't go out here and deal with the whole situation with your Pookies when they're young, they wind up becoming old Pookies when they get older. And it goes back to old principles in the Bible, such as spare the rod and spoil the child. And you have to bend the young sapling. You have to prepare these boys for manhood. And that's something people take for granted. But if we don't do this, we wind up with old Pookies. And again, old Pookie, he's not cute to look at. No, he's just somebody who sadly everybody feels sorry for. But you can't feel, if you really respect this man, you have to tell him what he needs to know so that he can go out here and do better. So I want to thank everybody for coming out to tonight's stream. I hope you guys pick up a copy of The Man Crisis or Stop Simping in Cyberspace or E-Steam Cancelification or any of the books of the SJS Direct Imprint, because that helps me stay on the air. And I'm also hoping that you guys head over to the Cash App and drop a donation so I can continue doing more streams like this. So I want to thank everybody for coming out to tonight's stream, and I hope you'll be there for next week's stream.